What's up, guys? Welcome to the Corridor Digital Podcast, where that means me and Niko and Wren, and occasionally Christian, who's over there,
he is on the mic,
will illuminate you about our week and the things that are going on here. Also, what is going on here?
Dude, I have been melting gallium like crazy, and who'd have thought
Melting gallium.
that is a lot harder to do than it looks, it seems.
I think I've heard 3 screams followed by you saying the F word really loud, and then I peek my head and I see liquid metal everywhere.
Yeah. And you usually like burning hot liquid metal, but in this case it's like
lukewarm liquid metal. It's just
like, yeah.
So okay. So I had a thing the other day where I had a bunch of liquid gallium that had solidified in a bowl, and I just needed to get it out of the bowl a little bit. So I put it in the toaster oven for just like 2 minutes. Just enough to kind of like loosen its grip on the bowl itself. And I took it out and it was fine. And there's like this donut in the middle of the hole of like the solid gallium that was still solid. And I was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I lifted it up out of the bowl. And there's like a little bit of that had melted and was still in the bowl. And as I lift it out, the whole thing just breaks. It crumbles in my hand and falls back down into the bowl, maybe a few inches at most, not much, but it splashed and so much gallium went out onto the floor. And I just like freaked. I was like, oh no, because this gallium is expensive and we have to return it. So I'm like doing my best to not waste any of the gallium. But then when I cleaned it all up, I realized only a tiny bit splashed on the ground. It wasn't much. And it's the same thing with water. You have a tiny bit and it splashes on the ground and it covers a large surface area. But because the metal is opaque and very reflective, it looks so much more than it really is.
Yeah.
We're talking like maybe 1/100th of a millimeter thick is how thick some of those like splashes are on the ground, but they're several inches wide.
Does it have less surface tension than water?
It's got more surface tension than water.
Okay.
But when it like hits the ground like that, it also has a lot more mass.
Oh yeah.
So like it has heavier. More. Yeah, exactly. It has a lot more like momentum splashing out further.
It's funny. And the best part about this is when you're doing this and it's splashing, you don't need to wear gloves because it's non-toxic.
Yeah.
You don't need to wear eye protection.
Everyone's been messing with me in the studio, being like, "Oh, that's toxic. You're gonna die." And it like, oh man, I was like, "It's not toxic. It's fine."
I think it's just like you don't want the gallium to get splashed in your face.
Well, of course.
It's so crazy. Well, also, I've never found myself in a situation where I've gotten a container of fluid and then have been asked to weeks later somehow return 100% of that fluid.
I don't know how it's gonna work out. I'm very close to 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's not quite there because every time I put it in a new container, there's so much that gets stuck to that container.
I'm starting to find these like micro beads of gallium everywhere now. Like
someone like I think stepped in some liquid gallium and it got on their shoe and trailed it into your guys' office. There's like little silver spots in your office now.
It was paint.
Yeah, it looked like white paint, but
yeah,
it's because it's reflecting the white ceiling.
Probably. That makes sense. It's highly metallic. It's such a strange thing.
It's really weird having something that's like liquid at room temperature and you like pour it into a pan. Well, it's slightly warmer than room temperature.
LA room temperature.
Yeah, LA room temperature. But
I mean, yeah, 85 degrees Fahrenheit.
90 degrees, you know, like nice heated pool temperature.
It's going to be 95 degrees here today, which is crazy. It's October.
But then pouring it into like a pan and it getting solid because it cools off below 85 degrees. And it's not like imagine pouring like melted wax into a pan or like caramel or chocolate. You know, you end up with something hard, but you pick it up, you can snap it easily or whatever. You know,
yeah.
But this is metal.
Yeah.
And when it hardens, it's like a sheet of metal, and it's really weird.
Oh wait, can we make gallium apples?
You can make gallium anything.
Let's dip apples in gallium.
It's just really weird.
That's what you mean. I was like, I thought you meant like make a mold of gallium. I was like, yeah, I guess.
No, I mean,
actually, we could try that.
That would be.
We could take an apple, put a fork in it, and then like dip it in and see like
a cold
it would
apple.
instantly become chrome.
Yeah,
because it was like you'd get that super thin layer because that's how some mirrors are made is they just take gallium, or usually it's like I don't know what the alloys are, but usually it's like some form of aluminum, but they get it all molten and then they spread it across glass at a really fine like thickness. And so you can they also apparently do some telescopes using liquid gallium because you put it in a big saucer and you spin that saucer, and so the gallium starts going up on the sides of the bowl on the dish. and it creates this parabolic mirror.
I petition that we invent
perfect.
a new word. Fine thickness. Let's refine that just to fine.
Fine, I know. Yeah, that's my speech impediment coming through.
Yeah.
Theme work.
Themework. Yeah,
Themework
we've been
makes
talking
it a
about
dream
theme
word.
work for the last
Themework.
few weeks.
Yeah. So are they expecting to get all the gallium back?
I'm not exactly sure. They just want me to return it, so I'm assuming there's going to be some degree of, because they know what I'm doing with it.
There's a margin of error.
There's got to be a margin of error, right?
Yeah, you don't get gallium without making a few splashes here and there. like it's it's within their margins.
And I'm gonna make a concerted effort to actually like recollect all of the debris on all the cups that I've put it in so far. I'm basically just gonna have to get a big pot of really, really hot water and just like scrub everything out, and then just let it sit for a while to let all the gallium rest to the bottom of the water, and then take out most of the water until you can just get a little thin layer of water above it, and then you just let that evaporate. Then you can recollect all the gallium.
That's crazy.
Wow. Well, you might get all the hard water spots or whatever on it too. You might get, if depending on like the quality of water, is maybe filter it or get
distilled water.
Distilled water. Get distilled water specifically. Don't use tap water.
You're right. You're right. We got to do that.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they get
unless
it back.
it's not a problem, because it's
My
not
gallium's
soluble in
all
water.
dirty.
But I didn't consider the minerals in water that might interact with it.
I mean, I have noticed there's starting to become a film on your gallium because there's like schmuck in there.
Is it? It's all your oil from your hands because you don't use gloves. Sorry, I'm kind of ribbing you on it because I'm sure once again it's non-toxic, quote unquote. Obviously you don't want to ingest large quantities of it or whatever, but don't get gallium in your eye. Probably a bad idea.
I mean, it tastes like metal. It doesn't taste like iron.
It doesn't taste like iron. Well, there's so much like residue on your fingers. I notice you walk around, you get these like
I get these
look like a
freaking
war boy.
I get these like really dark gray like stains on my fingers, and I have to like scrub my hands with soap like twice to get it all off. And so I like basically for the last week I've been washing my hands like 30 times a day because I don't want to touch anything when it's that way. Like gallium interacts with aluminum really, really poorly. It literally will eat aluminum, and I'm afraid of like getting residue from my fingers on, say, like the tripod that's aluminum. Yeah. Even though it's coated in like an anodization, it's still like it can eat through that. So I'm just like, yeah.
Have you tried that yet?
No, because because it eats the gallium.
I know, but can't just take a droplet to put it on it just so we can like witness the crazy effects of gallium.
I haven't tried it yet. No.
Okay, well maybe at the end. Doesn't need to be a lot. I just feel like it's like take one of those little beads and just put it there and just like
yeah, my buddy Kevin has experimented a bunch with that already. He's like he broke a bike in half, like taking an aluminum frame bike and put some gallium on the middle of it and just like waited for that to absorb in, and then he just took like I think a baseball bat to the bike and broke it in half.
Well, that's a really good way to sabotage someone's bike if you want to do a prank on them.
It's also why you cannot fly with gallium because airplanes are all aluminum.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If you spill some gallium on the airplane, that plane is gonna be decommissioned.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, okay. So how much gallium did I get? I got about 3 kilograms worth, and that's way less than a liter.
I wonder where is
like half a liter?
Like a gallium mine. I wonder what that looks like.
I don't know. A lot of metals and stuff, there isn't like a mine for it. They actually come as like minerals, like as part of a long string of elements in the same sort of like thing.
And they're being separated?
And they do all these crazy chemical processes to separate it. Like titanium, for instance, and now it's been a long time since I looked at this. Titanium's formed by literally vaporizing the titanium. So it actually condenses out of a gas.
Wow.
I don't know the specifics any more than that.
Titanium condenses out of a gas?
Yeah, when you get it out of like the cruddy mined material that you get and they treat it, they basically have to get it extremely hot, and then like the titanium is able to separate from the rest of the minerals.
That's crazy. And like it's just on that note, like man, one of the coolest Primtech videos I've ever seen. Like one of the best primitive technology videos I've ever seen was one where he's basically forging, or he's basically smelting iron, and his source is muddy water, And he's basically
Muddy
taking
water?
this muddy water that's near a bunch of like clay and iron deposits.
Yeah.
And so you look at it and it's just murky water basically. And he sits there and he just boils it all off until there's this like residue at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then he takes that and keeps working with it until basically he's getting these tiny like iron pellets out of the muddy water.
Really?
Yeah. And then from there, now he like makes like a knife or a tool out of it or something like that. This is close. This is not quite
he's still very much like struggling with. I've been following primitive technology pretty closely, actually. He's still struggling with the getting iron hot enough to like truly burn off all the impurities and get it to melt together. He's getting really close.
Are you screen sharing, Christian?
Yeah, I'm about to.
About to.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're looking at some Primtech video right now.
Yeah, this is not quite the one I was
That doesn't
discussing,
look like Clint.
but yeah, you do.
Oh, I see what you mean. There's those little like
those
pellets.
Little pellets, but yeah, there's one where he specifically is in like his jungle, and
at the beginning of this, he goes and gets the iron bacteria.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And just lets it evaporate until it's like this film at the bottom. Ugh.
Do any of you guys watch Nile Red?
Not recently.
He's been getting more and more into like metallurgy stuff over the last year or so. He made a really interesting video about like making purple gold.
Purple. Oh yeah.
Which was really interesting. And then he just recently made a video about the world's bounciest metal. And it's all this stuff about like trying to like create this very specific type of metal that requires these special like heat treatment, and you have to make sure that there's no oxygen around. So he's like pumping in argon or nitrogen and doing all these things. And they're really, really long videos. Like that bouncy metal video is like almost an hour long.
Wow.
And like I remember I watched the whole thing and I was just like, why did I watch this whole thing? That was so long, but I was intrigued the entire time.
It's crazy to me that there's people like that out there who are like really high in their field at like physics or engineering, who are also very good at doing like a documentary video, and like that overlap. It's a big skill.
I think Nigel just goes into a lot of detail about like every single step of the process. And so it's like he'll just film everything, and then once he's like done with the process, he'll go through and just kind of just commentate and narrate every step of the process of the whole thing. And it just happens to be really interesting, so he gets a really good video out of it.
So
yeah.
What do you think the monetary value is of all the gallium that you have currently?
The what?
The monetary value.
It's hard to say, because it's like when you look up the price of gallium like wholesale, it's somewhere between like $300 and $400 per kilogram. But when you try to buy it off of Amazon at like say the 50-gram increments, it's over $1,000 per kilogram. But when you buy it in bulk, not wholesale, but like from an actual distributor, it's somewhere around like $700 a kilogram.
Huh.
And we have 3 kilograms.
Okay.
So it's like roughly somewhere between like $1,000 and $3,000.
Depending on how well you know the other guy.
Yeah. And currently we are just borrowing it. Like I've already talked about this. I've literally hit up like 8 different companies, including the company that worked with the Slow-Mo guys. They did a couple gallium videos a few years back. So I hit up Gavin and was like, hey, who's your gallium contact? And he's like, yeah, here you go. And I hit them up and I was like, hey, I'd be down to do this. And the rep, it was so funny because he responded, was like, no, we're good. We'll give you a discount if you want to buy some. And I was like, okay. I'm going to keep looking then. Yeah, I wonder if he just didn't like, this is speculation, of course, but I wonder if they didn't like the return on investment they got with Gavin's videos. I don't know. They got a lot of views, and my experience so far seeing all these different like material companies is that like they don't ever deal with YouTubers. This is not something that they're used to doing. So I think this probably just partially experimentation, and then being like, yeah, that's not our cup of tea. I don't know.
I'd like to hope that somebody there is just like, yeah, this is cool. Like, you know, I got into like cool, weird metal stuff. Somebody wants to make an actual T1000. It's like, okay.
I mean, yeah. The only reason why I think Stanford Advanced Materials is hit me back is because the guy reading the email happened to be a Corridor fan.
Man, that's lucky.
Yeah.
Those dice rolls. When you hope it works out. Like, I hope you watch our
Everyone
stuff.
else just ignored me.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those of you who are not sure what I'm even talking about, why we're even doing anything with Gallium, it's because I'm trying to recreate the Liquid Terminator effect without using CGI. I will be using visual effects. Like I'll be doing like
how Christopher Nolan would have done Terminator.
Well, like, yeah, I want to be able to like use plates. So I'll probably end up having to like roto out like the melted head and comp it into a real shot. But I think that still counts as like practical.
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah, because no one's ever done this. And I've watched most of the videos on YouTube about Gallium. Another friend of mine, Nate from the internet, did a video a few years back. He used to be part of King of Random. And he did a video where he got a lot of Gallium. We're talking way more, like probably at least 2 or 3 times more Gallium than I have. And he did an entire cast of his face.
Oh my gosh.
He basically just stuck his face in like this type of sand that like molds outwards, and he just like smushed his face in. And then he filled that whole thing with Gallium, let it cool off, and it was just like a 1-to-1 scale model of his face. But it was like only here. It was just like just around the eyeballs and the chin, not like the full head.
Yeah. I'm curious if anybody in the chat room has picked up a Simpsons t-shirt or the Corridor Crew couch, Simpsons couch t-shirt.
Or a sticker.
Yeah, or a sticker. Yeah.
Anybody got one?
It's been on sale for a few days.
Yeah, I watched that drip. I was like, oh no.
This weekend.
Yeah, I got a little leak in my water bottle.
Dude, my water bottle that I take to the gym, I think has some sort of leak in the bottom of it or something, because I got to the gym, I pull out my water bottle, and half of it's empty, and my entire towel is soaked.
Well, I'm a cheapskate. That's why, because I broke the top that came with it. You know, it's like a Yeti one. I got like the cheap $10 like Chinese Amazon replacement one.
For the cap or the whole bottle?
Just the cap.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's probably why it's leaking.
I've actually, so I have a couple hydro flasks at home, and I have broken some tops. They've always just sent me a new one when I sent them an email.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck? Maybe I should email Yeti.
Yeti's got to have
It's
that.
like, hey, I broke my top. And they're like, here you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hydro Flask.
Hydro Flask. With their wacky vase-shaped bottles.
Yeah. Shout out to Otter for buying a Simpsons t-shirt.
Oh, dude, they're talking about Styropyro in the comments. I finally had a chance to hang out with him a bunch this year at Open Sauce. He's a funny dude. Yeah.
Open Sauce sounds like a very intense time.
You would love it, dude. It was,
I'm sure
it was really good. It was just like, all right, I can
Custom
either
shit.
go hang out with 200 of some of the coolest creators that I actually watch online, or I can go out into the main floor and just talk to thousands of fans. I love both. I love doing both of that. And on top of that, you get to see some of the coolest science experiments ever created, because just like some person's obsessed with like doing this one thing, and then they just take it all the way to the final endpoint. You could possibly take something like this, and then there's 1,000 booths of that.
That's sweet.
It sounds crazy.
It was super cool. It was, yeah.
I would have known like that the science fair niche was unfilled.
Apparently William Osmond
Yeah.
knew.
Good call. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm still kind of just impressed that event happens at all. Just hearing some of the crazy stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and how it like literally at the last moment almost didn't happen. Like they had this crazy snafu where the venue didn't get like certified by like the firefighters or the fire safety. There's some sort of permit issue that happened that basically like day of, they're like, yeah, no, you can't have the event. And he had to like drive overnight to go like talk to this dude in the morning over in like Sacramento or something like that, to like beg him to like
wow.
fast track this stuff. And that's why the event was like delayed a few hours on the first day, and people were like getting upset and angry over this. And it's like, it could have been so much worse.
Because the fire marshal hadn't opened the door yet.
And it's like,
That's tough.
he's like having to take like loans from friends and stuff, and like all these sponsors. And so it's like they're now at a point where there has to be another Open Sauce just so they don't lose all that money. So there will be an Open Sauce next year, and I'm very excited for it. It's probably going to be very good. Very cool.
And conventions are a lot of work, but when they do work out, they can be a very nice business endeavor and a thing to have under your belt. I mean, like PAX with the Penny Arcade guys.
Yeah.
Like, man.
The whole
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, the Vlog Brothers started VidCon
Yeah.
and then sold it to Viacom, was it? I
Something
think
That or
so.
Verizon.
I
One
think
or
no,
the
it was
other.
Viacom.
Viacom.
Yeah, because that was YouTube's. They were the people who sued YouTube back in the day.
Oh.
And so that was that, because I remember having a talk with Graham at a VidCon party. He was our former YouTube rep, like one of the high guys at YouTube for channels and stuff. And
Hi guys.
Hi
he was
guys.
so hot.
Top men.
But yeah, no, he was saying like, now that it's like officially over to like Viacom, they're controlling it. It's no longer in the hands of like the Vlogbrothers and stuff like that. He said that like YouTube were going to actively kind of take a step back from VidCon a little bit. It's like, all right. I haven't been to VidCon since then, so I don't know how much that's actually turned out. That was years ago. That was like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the last time I went is when they did like the cattle lines. You guys remember, do you remember the cattle lines?
Are you talking about where we like stood at the end and we were taking photos with people?
You go to the basement and they set up the huge like 1,000-person long lines.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To take the picture with you, which is like, once again, if you wait in line, great.
We only had like 100 people in our line.
Even still,
cool,
but it was very
niche
like it was
people.
We had
a good amount. It was a line that kept cycling through. It's like,
that's true.
I mean, the line will say a certain length, but it will stay that same length for a while.
Yeah, it is a little like, oh my gosh, when you look at it, it's like a little bit of running a marathon. But we have like a very tasteful number of fans. Like we have enough fans that like it's really cool to meet all of them.
Yeah.
Versus like somebody being like, oh my God, there's 10,000 people here to see me.
Well, it's like the perfect amount where everyone's still special.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, everyone has like, I can mentally distinguish everyone I basically just met.
Yeah.
I love meeting fans. I really do. That was one of the cool things about Open Sauce is that like you just walk out into the showroom floor, wait about 30 seconds, and suddenly there's a line forming of people just wanting to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really like move around on the showroom floor much. That's why Adam Savage always like goes to Comic-Con dressed up in a costume so he can actually like see the place. But people have caught on to his shtick now about that. So now anytime like someone suspects, everyone starts like swarming this costumed person, and yeah.
So we should go as Adam Savage in a costume.
That's funny.
Well, Bryan Cranston did that one year. He went as his character from Breaking Bad. He had a silicone mask of like Walter White.
Wow.
And went on to a panel or something like, I forget. There's a video on YouTube. He went to Comic-Con and then literally just pulled off the mask and it was actually Walter White. He had like the same, I think he had the same facial hair.
It's pretty amazing. By the way, it's cool meeting fans. Please don't come and knock on our office door.
That's a big difference. And we get that. We still get that quite a bit. And that's just kind of hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not usually in a good brain space to like really talk to someone like right outside the studio. I'm either coming back from lunch or I'm like going in and I'm like trying to think about my day. Yeah, and try not to come by with like offers to or requests to do so. We had a person come by asking us to do like visual effects for his movie that like his brother had directed or something like that, and was given he was trying to like guilt me into like helping him, and I was like, this isn't okay.
Yeah, I think we had 2 visits last week.
Yeah, those are tough situations because like you're a nice person, but it's like I can tell what you're doing here, and I don't like it.
yeah. That's where like if it's in a public space anywhere, I think it's totally fine.
Of course, yes. And heck, like, there's nothing stopping somebody from like taking a picture of the studio or something like that, or coming and looking at it.
I mean, it is. I mean, yeah, technically our studio is publicly listed. You can literally search it up on Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should say that.
Just don't. Yeah, if you want to come take a picture of the studio, maybe just don't expect to like meet anyone or don't try.
Well, I always wondered who I always imagined he would look like Danny DeVito. He's got a thick New York accent. The guy who I never saw him. But I was told that he came to the studio looking for Gorski.
Hey, it's Gorski here.
I never saw him either, but that's what I've heard, and that's how I imagine him too. He's basically like the penguin.
Who was he? He was the penguin. Like, what did he want from me? Like, why me? Why did he single me out? And what did I do?
Dude, I will never forget one of the weirdest interactions. This is like way back when it was like literally just the 3 of us and Jake. We were still in Studio 3, and a guy literally knocked on the front door, and Sam and I both kind of came to the door. Sam opened it, and the guy just like was standing there awkwardly like, hi. He's like, hi Niko. And Sam's like, I'm Sam. And he's like, oh. And just like literally didn't say anything more than that. And just kind of like stood there awkwardly staring at both Sam and I.
God, that's a rolling a 1, man.
That's the like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna land this. Gonna make a great impression. Here we go. Can you
imagine like, hi Link. Oh, I'm Rhett.
Well, I'm a big fan. I'm like, sure.
Yeah, sure you are.
Do you know where you are then?
Man, no, Rhett and Link are also very famous, as most people know, but I happened to be on the same airplane as them last year when I flew out to North Carolina. And I got through security just after them, and I saw them they were like maybe like 20, 30 feet ahead of me. They were with their family, just walking through the airport, and we were going to the same gate. So I walked through the airport like 20 feet behind them for like the whole, from security to the gate.
Yeah.
And they kept getting stopped by like people, like they kept getting recognized, like every, storefront, they'd get a little bit further, and they pulled the Freddie Wong technique of like, yeah, we can take a photo as long as you can keep walking while we take the photo. Yeah, and they're of course super nice, super good natured about it. And then I think I've said this story on the podcast before, but then like when I was flying home, I happened to be sitting next to them on the airplane. So it was like I literally saw them like 2 days beforehand at the
guys,
airport.
I promise I'm not stalking you.
But that was right after I'd broken my collarbone, and so I went home early and I used some points to upgrade to first class. So that's why I was sitting next to them, because they were of course in first class, and I had a freshly broken collarbone, and we bonded over that because Link had just broken his collarbone like a couple months before that. And they also both ride one wheels and have one wheels. And so we talked about that a lot. Huh. They mentioned this interaction on their podcast at some point. I forget when it was. It was last year, funny. Of course. But yeah, it was funny because Rhett was like, yeah, you seem like a nice enough dude. And Link was like, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Man.
Classic.
You guys remember Street Meat?
Oh, yeah.
Street Meat, yeah. Yeah, I do. He was an interesting guy.
He was an interesting guy.
I hope he's okay.
Speaking of interesting fan interactions, I hope he's okay too, because he was a nice guy.
But he had some issues, and he talked about those issues with us and whatnot. We didn't really put that in the video, because then he came back a second time, and then a third time, wanting to continue. Like we had to like tell him like, hey, it's okay, maybe.
He brought us a bunch of
anymore.
alcohol at one point.
Yeah, because this guy showed up and he offered to cook us Korean bulgogi in a little grill that he brought outside. And it was like freshly chopped vegetables. It was marinated. It actually smelled really good.
It was actually pretty good.
And we were all obviously very weirded out by this.
Because he brought his own grill.
Yeah.
And yeah, his own grill, his own meat, staked up right in front of our front door and just started cooking.
Core was much smaller and scrappier at the time. You know, it's like 5 or 6 of us.
This was this is like the first year or two of the vlogs. This is like 2016, 17.
The vlog days.
2014 maybe even, or 2015.
It was 2016. 2016 was the start of the vlogs, and this was after that.
He was like right before I joined.
Okay. So either way, we're all very scrappy, and it's like, you know, down here in downtown warehouse district LA is kind of anything goes, anarchy town. So like, okay. And then he cooks it all, and we go out there, we're like, we're not quite sure what to do this with this guy. Like, you know, he has cooked us a meal. Like it's a weird spot to be in. It's one thing for somebody to be like, it's kind of like somebody be like, hey, can my kid take a picture with you? So you kind of have to say yes. Anyways, we all had some of that street meat, and it was it's pretty delicious, and we didn't die.
Yeah, it was good. Although at the end, I do remember there being a giant like dumpster truck that drove by right afterwards after I'd started eating, and there was all this freaking dumpster juice pouring out of the back of it, and just dripping on the ground as it like rolls by us.
It's called toxic slime.
Yeah, as he's cooking. Eat that, you turn into a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. If you're a teenager, otherwise you might just turn into like a mid-30s Mutant Ninja Turtle.
just mutant Ninja Turtles. Middle-aged mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Well, Sam, what was your weirdest fan interaction?
I tell it all the time, but it was the it was the morning where this guy walks in with his whole family. He's like a 10-year-old kid with his family.
Oh my God, I remember
And
this story.
we get a knock on the door. We open it. It's like this 10-year-old boy, and then what looks like a family out of like a Pixar movie,
Yeah, like a
or Toy
Disneyland.
Story. They got their tourist cameras on their, like there, and they got their little boonie hats and Hawaiian shirts and stuff.
This is Saturday morning at 10 a.m. at our apartment.
Yeah, this is like when it was still when it was also a living space.
This was before I joined up, so
Yeah.
this was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was not just an office. It was like literally a loft where we lived.
We just had our computers,
And-
obviously, at our desks.
Yeah, and I'm like, huh? And it was like, I opened the door. I'm like wearing pajamas and stuff. And he's like, wow. And
Wow.
Wow.
Didn't
like,
they just
hey.
kind of like walk in?
Yeah.
Yeah, then they
Like you
kinda
opened the door and then they just kind of like
kinda
walked
walk-
in.
Yeah, it's like that was the ultimate "can my son take a picture with you" kind of moment.
So this is it,
It
huh?
was like, hey, here we are. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna make sure that like my shirt's on all the way, like my pajamas.
I remember I was
Pants.
like a little hungover, I believe, and I was lying on the couch in front of the TV. The TV was off, and I was just lying on the couch, and I hear the door open. And like I lean up from the couch, and
like-
just this like dude from Kansas with his family and his camera, just like looking around, and be like, "Wow,
Can my son invade your home? I like that. Oh, we're big fans. Can my son invade your house? Yeah. That's
That was a
that
good time. They're actually also very polite and kind.
They're totally polite, but I just remember because it's just like the worst timing.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
was like our fifth fan interaction.
Yeah.
So.
At a place, the last place I used to live, I used to live across from a school playground.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember one day I walked out to get in an Uber, and someone had kicked a ball over the fence. And I was just like, okay. And I grabbed it and I threw it over the fence. And the guy catches it and looks at me and recognizes me. Because you know the look. It's
Yeah,
always,
you know
every
the
single
look.
time. It's like the eyes widen a little bit as the recognition forms. I'm like, okay, here we go. And the kid goes, you're so-and-so. And it's like, and then he runs off screaming to his friends, a YouTuber lives across the street from us. And I was just like, uh-oh. Did I just get doxxed? Like, oh no.
That's really funny.
That is pretty good.
I was at so Mike directs for Saturday Night Live.
Yes,
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
we
I
gotta
saw
talk about
this.
this,
Hold on,
Niko.
hold on, let me
We
say-
gotta
it's
talk
one
about
more
this,
fan
but
story.
I'll let you set this
I'll
up.
segue from this fan story to the opening
Yeah,
of
I saw that on
SNL
Reddit.
cameo. But so I was out there January or February this year, because Mike can bring some people to the show. They do 2 shows a night. They do a rehearsal and they do the real thing immediately after that. So you have 2 crowds, and basically like it's friends and family get to go see the rehearsal, which is often a little more fun. It's a little more rough, and like there's skits that get cut for the show, and
Mhm.
so you get to see a little bit more of how the sausage is made. And then there's the after party, the SNL after party. So you go there, and Mike gets to go because he works at SNL, obviously, and he's part
To
of the
to
show.
be clear, for those who do not know, we're talking about Mike Diva,
Mike Diva.
who is the creative.
Short-
He's not the
shorts
creative director,
director,
but he
right?
directs all of the shorts.
Yeah, he's
that
one of their,
SNL's
digital shorts
been putting out for the last
directors.
like year.
Yep. And if you probably saw a short go viral over the past year or 2, it's most likely been his.
There's like that Pedro Pascal Mario one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a few.
Been a bunch. And so he takes me and my wife Ivy to the after party. And I'm standing there like, whoa, and there's always like SNL people. Josh Brolin's there, and like
Yeah,
You
SNL
know.
guy Josh Brolin.
well, he was the guest for the night. So it's like all these big names in New York like hanging out, talking to each other, and eventually I end up in a circle where it's Mike who is talking to one of the SNL cast members. I think her name is Sarah. She's really friendly. And then a guy who plays the genie on Broadway's version of Aladdin. And then a pop singer who just finished her show named Dorian Electra shows up. So there's this whole
This is your
group-
circle?
This is my circle.
What?
And I'm standing there quietly, obviously, off to the side, like an awkward kid at a high school dance with your older brother who has all the cool friends, And so I'm standing there just watching. I have nothing to say. And
Wait, is Mike with you in the circle?
Mike's with me in the
Okay,
circle.
okay.
Yeah, I'm a tourist. I'm a social tourist.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And the person walks up to the group and they go, "Excuse me," and the group kind of parts and looks at this person like, are you Niko from Corridor Digital?
Oh my god!
Whenever he turns and looks
funny.
at me, I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh, cool. I love your work, man. And like, he gives me like a high five and then he leaves. And like, I kind of turn back to the group and like this little smug smile. And Dorian's like, you got recognized. They know you. Yeah. And so that was really cool. It was very legitimizing. The perfect time. So whoever that fan was who came up to me right then and there, thank you so much.
Got so much social credit right there.
You got so much social credit right there.
So, okay. Someone posted on our subreddit an image from the SNL 50th anniversary intro.
Yes.
That they do.
Yes.
SNL has an intro that they redo every single year, showing off all the cast and whatnot. And it's like, Mike Diva got to direct that.
Mm-hmm.
And someone got a picture, and it's a low quality screenshot with a little like a brighter square in the middle of it, and you cannot make out who that is unless you already know that it's Niko, and then you're like, I guess I can see that that's Niko. I guess. Yep. Yeah. And the only reason why I believe it is because I knew you were there, but I did not know that you got to film anything.
You didn't know that I'm in Saturday Night Live now?
God,
I'm immortalized in the 50th season of Saturday Night Live's intro. Also, Shmoyo Ho is in it as well.
Really?
He's in the one shot of Times Square. Yep.
Auto-Tune the News?
Auto-Tune the News, Shmoyo Ho. Yeah, so I was out there for the Creator Summit, and the Creator Summit, they wanted everybody to be there by like 2 o'clock or whatever on Wednesday, which meant like, we're going to fly you out at 3 a.m. I'm like, I'm not going to take a plane at 3 a.m. Sorry. So fly me out on Tuesday, but then I needed a place to stay for the night. So I hit up Mike and he's like, crash with me. But he's like, but I'm going to be shooting the first night of the intros for SNL. So you can come hang out on set if you want to. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I can get you in the shop. I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, sure enough, I show up and showing up to set was actually kind of funny. So it's like, I was like, I don't really know where he's shooting. Is he in 30 Rock? What's going on? He's like, yeah, come on down to 30 Rock. That's where we're doing it. I'm like, do I need security? Like, how am I going to get in? He's like, just come on down. Okay. They must be shooting outside or something. And sure enough, they're just shooting literally off to the side, like in an alleyway. You know, there's no walls or it's not private or anything like that. So I walk up and I stand on the edge of the set and there's about 40 people working.
Wow.
Lights and all that kind of stuff. Mike's in the middle, like doing some directing and planning, and he doesn't see me yet. And I'm standing on the edge of the set. I'm like, okay, do I just walk right into the middle of the set and go talk to the director? Or do I wait for him to see me? And I'm kind of like thinking, what's my plan here? You know?
I know the exact feeling. Like, do I interrupt this very official thing? I think it's okay for me to be here, but I don't know if I want to like disrupt the flow. I don't what do I do?
And only Mike knows I'm here. Like, it's only his permission. It's like the whole crew knows I'm here, the producers. So it's like, yeah, what do you do? And as I'm thinking this, standing at the edge, I see I think it was a second AC look over at me, assistant camera, and they like look at me and they kind of lock eyes at me and they're like, and they squint and like, who's this stranger that walked up off the street and is standing on the edge of the set? Are they just watching? They're a little close. And like, I look over and make eye contact with him. I'm like, and immediately I realize I need to act within 2 seconds and look like I know what I'm doing. Otherwise this person's going to kick me out. And so then I just look at Mike. I start walking boldly right into the middle of the set, and the person, like this AC looking at me, their eyes just get wider, and they're just like,
I'm about to lose my job.
Yeah, well, they're just like, I'm going to kick you out in just 1 second here, and they're like, hey, Mike, and Mike's like, Niko, and then he gives me a hug. I'm like, okay, thank goodness. So Mike would have had to like turn and walked away, and I'd be like, and I've been all alone there. That would have been really bad.
That would have been. So walk me through how you ended up getting into a shot.
So I'm standing there just, hanging out with Mike, and he had talked about trying to get me into the shot, like this dining room sequence. And then he's just standing there, and like they had already dressed all the extras. And he's just like, Niko, go sit right there. And so I go sit down, and he's like, perfect. And he just starts building the shot, and they shoot it. And he's like, okay, we're done. Got it. And so he just put me right in the spot, and we got the shot. And, I think Curtis is the actor's name, the SNL comedian. He just comes in, gets to do like 4 or 5 takes. They're using the Ronin DJI 4D for all the opening shots.
Nice,
and movements and stuff. They had it on a little pole, which is super cool.
Wait, what?
You can take the head off the camera.
Oh,
the gimbal
yes.
head, and have
I was
that on
envisioning the entire camera on a pole. But yeah, no, I've seen it where they break off the gimbal and the sensor and just have a really long cable to the brain. So you have like the brain in like a backpack or a sling or something like that, and you have the rest of the camera somewhere.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, they did a really great job with it. Like the movements they're getting now with like that camera and the quality they got from it, the lighting, it looks really nice. So shout out to the team over there. But yeah, just filmed me there, and then Mike actually had to get a green screen plate afterwards of the actor. And he's kind of thinking, like, he's like, okay, well, there's motion here, and he needs to pull back here, and he's kind of thinking about it. He's like, Niko, what do you think about this? And just green screen or whatever. So just talking about it. but you know, people on set are very touchy about like strangers coming in and working on things.
Classic.
But VFX is still such a mysterious like wizardry to like most people that like somebody walks up like, are you VFX? I go, yeah. Like, okay, cool. And then they all hang out like, so what you think? And Mike's like, yeah, I'm thinking this. Like, what do you think? No, I'm like, oh, this would probably work. You do like this. Okay, yeah, you guys do like this.
Wow. That's so
and that was it, you know? So that's how I got an SNL.
Mike is a very interesting director. I've never been directed by Mike. We were obviously you guys were on that Mad Max shoot friggin' 9 years ago.
That's right.
But so I got to see him direct on that. But it was our Halloween party last year. I was in this like big inflatable sumo wrestler costume, and Jenna had like this like pumpkin costume or whatever. And there were like lights set up in the back. And so we went to go take a couple photos. Then Mike comes running over and goes into full like director mode, but like also just like, I'm a little drunk and just being flamboyant, Mike, and just starts like pretending to be like a famous photographer, essentially just throwing out all kinds of direction for Jen and I to do. And we're all just like kind of going with it. It was just like very bizarre. I was like, what? We just went to take like a quick like selfie, and all of a sudden we're in what felt like a very official photo shoot.
That's funny.
And then Mike was like, as soon as he was done, he just like evaporated. He just disappeared.
Yeah. My analog of Mike is Jake the dog from Adventure Time.
Okay.
To me, like they're the same character.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of Adventure Time, I'm blanking on the dude's name who started it.
Pendleton Ward.
Yes. Early days quarter. You guys like were friends with him.
Yeah.
He would come by the studio.
Yeah, sometimes. He's a really nice guy. He's really chill.
Yeah, no, he was super chill. I remember we were playing Minecraft with him, and I hadn't been working with you guys for that long, and I remember just like I was like, oh wow, the maker of Adventure Time is playing Minecraft with me right now. We're like on a server, and he's like, what do you do? And I was like, I do BTS, and like I don't really get any response for a little while, and then eventually he responds back with like some sort of thing. I was like, what? That's not what it is. I realized he didn't know what BTS meant, so he Googled it. And he found some acronym that was like BTS and was like, you do this? I was like, no. Behind the scenes, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then like fast forward, like I think 2 years, I was now on, my desk was like against the wall right out here. I came into work one day and he is sitting in the at the desk next to mine for no reason. I think this is like 2017 maybe.
He was doing a game jam and he wanted to set up a computer and do some work on the computer.
That's so random. That's so random. I remember we did a face swap. Like the app, like the face swap app had like just come out. And it was like Carmichael and I were kind of messing with it. And like I did a face swap with Pendleton Ward. And so like he had like this beard, like the beard was cut off on my face. It was funny.
No, Pendleton's really nice. And like I've talked to him a couple times. He's just like a guy who likes to do his art, you know, buckle down and make some cool things. It's really, really cool dude. I had the privilege of helping him out with some activities at like a convention, like a retreat convention camp thing for a day or two. Yeah. Have you seen his, what is it? Midnight Gospel?
No.
On Netflix?
No,
it's interesting. It's like an
episodes.
animated podcast. It's a few years old, but like, they record like some podcasts with philosophers and like just animate a crazy thing happening while you see the two characters just having a discussion.
What? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sam, I know you've seen this show. It's a show called Dark.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Does that have to do with like time repeating?
I mean, have you
Like
seen it?
Groundhog? No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of very high concept sci-fi elements.
I've been told I would like it,
and I don't even really want to answer that question because it's like
that's part of the mystery of it, or
yeah. It's not like you can't quite summarize it by answering that question. It's not gonna like help you. All I can say is that it is science fiction, absolutely, and. Yeah, it's one of the best shows I think I've ever seen for sure.
Wow, okay.
Oh, absolutely. It's so good. It's so good. It's like every episode is mysterious and like you get the sense that like the people writing this show are like truly just a little bit smarter than you are.
Oh,
Just because they managed to like pull off some of the most complex character arcs that come out of nowhere.
okay.
So yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I shouldn't spoil it because
Okay.
part of the fun of the show is that like the reveal of each episode. The beginning of each episode is like always a mind blower. Like the first scene in each episode is you're like, what? And it totally changes everything you saw in the last episode. It's so good.
Okay, yeah, because like I think my favorite movie genre is like the repeating time.
If you like that kind of stuff,
It's like Edge of Tomorrow is one of my favorite movies of all time. Palm Springs, also one of my favorite movies.
Nice.
Cool.
Love that one. Groundhog's Day, not a big fan.
I'm not going to tell you anything about the
But
show.
only because I saw that way after all the others.
I can't tell you anything about the show, but if you like those types of shows, you'll like Dark.
Okay. I just heard it was in that vein, so I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. Isn't it like, it's not in English though, isn't it? It's like
It's
German,
German,
I
and
think.
that's what makes it even better.
Oh.
Like it's
So
like,
is it subtitles or is it dubbed?
It is, well, you can watch it anyway.
Yeah, you probably have the option on Netflix.
I did subtitles just
Okay.
because I think it helps with stuff. I mean, you get the original performances, and that's nice. And then also you get the anime effect as well. And since it's sci-fi, like when you're hearing them say stuff, you're always imagining it's like the perfect delivery of every line. It's like it really amplifies the show. So, yeah. 1899, that was the show they did afterwards. I did not watch it. I don't know why. I actually, I'll tell you why. Because honestly, I just don't really watch shows. I don't really watch shows anymore. I'm kind of fed up with the whole.
Was 1899 like the Netflix mystery one?
Is the Netflix one made by the Dark creators? They filmed most of it on like a volume and stuff.
Oh, I remember.
I just assume that anything going on Netflix is like 80% filler and 20% killer.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not gonna. I as I said, I haven't seen this their other show, but like, yeah, the filler. It's like I'm so burned by show filler that I just can't muster enough energy to watch stuff unless it's like truly incredible.
It's like too many shows are just made for background, and like when I sit down to watch something and not have it be background or have it just be time like burning, it's like
it's like, no, I'm paying attention.
Some hours you want to
like,
burn,
guys, I'm paying attention. Like start the show, like get going. Like if I can listen to podcasts when I'm not watching the show.
Yeah, that's tough. I guess maybe it's just because we have like young children that we're like feeling the like need for no filler in our shows.
No
and maybe
filler.
most people
No filler. Yes. Just raw movie crack. That's what I want.
I just want 15-minute summaries of all episodes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really watch too many shows either, but every now and then I'll latch onto a show that I really enjoy and we'll like watch the whole thing. Probably my favorite show I've seen so far this year was probably Fallout. I think that was my favorite.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm rewatching Silicon Valley right now.
That was a good show. I
show makes
enjoyed
me-
that one a lot.
Only
But
The Office is the only other show to make me laugh out loud as much as I've laughed out loud at Silicon Valley.
okay.
Lol. It's so good.
Yeah, I don't think I even watched the final season of Silicon Valley. It was like the first several seasons were amazing. I loved them. It was great.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fell off a cliff or if I just kind of lost interest,
I mean, 6 seasons is a lot for anything. Did you guys watch Smiling Friends at all?
What is that?
It's an animated show on Adult Swim /Max.
Then I did.
It's actually really good. It's really funny.
Dude, speaking of animated shows, there's one I saw on HBO that was nuts. Sovereign's Reign?
Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's Reign.
That's like, well,
Also very cool.
yeah, that's the last.
Did you guys
I
watch the
watched.
whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
One of the most bizarre shows I've ever seen. And
No
every
filler.
single like element in that show was just like, interesting concept about how alien life could exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's no filler in that show. Like each episode introduces new stuff. Each scene introduces a progression of what you have learned so far about this creature, this biome they're in, whatever. Like it's always taking these big like visual steps forward. And like, it's like, yeah, it's like nice and meaty. Like those, I don't know. I want to taste that black floating goo.
And Everyone keeps recommending Severance to me. I watched the first episode and was like, I actively want to not watch any more of this.
Same.
Oh,
I disliked it.
It wasn't that I disliked it. I
Sorry,
just knew
Faceless Mage.
Yeah,
it was
sorry.
it was gonna be a vibe that I was just not interested in. It was like that kind of depressed vibe that I was just like, I don't want to experience this.
Yeah. I guess like I can fully acknowledge that it's like a very well made show.
Lots of rain outside
Very
of windows
talented.
and people being quiet and having awkward conversations about relationships.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where it's like this just isn't for me. Like this is actively not what I want.
Seems like we're in the
Not what I
minority.
want.
But that said, the opening title sequence is super cool.
Okay, so I was hating. Okay, so I have to talk about it a little bit, but oh my god, so I love Terry Gilliam. I love all his stuff. I love Time Bandits, the movie.
Yes, the original.
It's such an incredible film. It's mind blowing. Obviously, you know, as a kid while I watch it, but sometimes like that's how it works. Sometimes movies are better when you're a child than when you're an adult.
Yeah.
Anyways,
They don't hold up.
that's the funny thing though. It does, which is
Oh,
so
great.
good.
Great.
But so they're like, you know, these idiots over at like Apple are like, hey, why don't we reboot it?
Yeah.
And then they run into their, you know, if we talked about this last week, they're like,
Oh,
oh,
what
crap.
do we do with the short people?
What do we do with the short people? And they're like, oh God, oh God, oh God. They're like, CGI. No. They're trying that with Snow White. Don't just turn them CGI. It doesn't make it better if you CGI. So anyways, they just hire a bunch of like full-sized, average size actors. And like I watched it, it's so bad.
Oh no.
It's
Is it
so
really?
bad, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a chance because I love the original, and you know, sure, it's like your Taika Waititi stuff, but you know, they missed the mark so bad. It's like it's the same filler thing. It's like not only is there now. It was an hour and a half movie, by the way, that they're just now making into a season of TV.
So it's
Wait,
just
what?
like, here's your
Wait, what do you mean?
assignment, Mr.
Like Time
Writer.
Bandits was an hour and a half
Yeah,
long film.
It's a
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a movie back in
and
the
then
day.
they made it for Apple TV as a multi-episode
I follow.
season.
I follow.
So
I
there's
thought you
that
meant
going.
they made a movie that was 90 minutes long. They split it up into 10 episodes,
no,
9
no,
minutes
no.
each.
It's like a web series.
And the way they do that, is by doing this like the crappy like. I guess Marvel's made it a little bit of fame, maybe made it a little famous, but it's the crappy filler meta comedy that happens where they're like, oh wait, you guys are taking the scene seriously? I'm not taking the scene seriously, and then like suddenly all the characters just like start blabbering crap, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like just act your scene, like act your story. Like which character is taking this situation seriously or is invested in something here, like because I can't tell, and it's just like, so yeah, that's how they did it. That's how they 10x'd the plot of Time Bandits.
Ugh.
Oh man,
I love the original movie too.
the original. It's so bad. I know. It's just like, oh my god. And yeah,
it does feel like it's just the human equivalent of like taking a movie script and being like, Chat GPT, can you just make this into an 8-episode series, please? They're like, yes, sir. Let me just take the average formulaic approach to writing and buff that out. To 8 episodes.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I just feel like, yeah, I watched a little bit of that too for VFX Artists React. You know, I was just checking in on, you know, when we did the Ghostbusters episode. But like, I feel like that's like that. It's like very common style of like humor now in these movies. It's like something really serious happens, and then all the characters are like, oh yeah, not serious. Let's just joke about, like, let's put a joke like right when people are supposed to like care about what's going on, and it just like ruins everything constantly.
You mentioned like the Balrog scene happening where Gandalf falls in the chasm and they all run out and
yeah,
crying.
he's like, hold on one second. Let's try this again. You know, it's like that kind of crap.
I just imagine like they're all running out and crying after they think Gandalf died. It's like, guys, what's the big deal? I don't know. Like, I don't have a joke actually. I don't have one prepared.
You hear a toilet flush, and Gandalf walks behind the hobbits and looks up. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys crying about? What happened?"
Toilet flush sound enter from off screen.
Yeah, you shall not pass. That sounded better in my head. It's like that kind of stuff. Like, once again, it's great if you're doing a movie that's specifically like a comedy, and you're like playing with that. But like when it's not a comedy, you know, it's like, god dang, it's just potholes. It's just potholes on the road of your story.
Oh man. You shall not pass. That sounded better in my head.
God, I like that. God, like that's see that I know Nick was like, oh, we should do the sequels. Like, let's do this narrating the sequels. But like taking scenes of movies and adding the levity moments to them, that maybe that was the actual missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Take really serious moments and add those jokes in there. That'd be great.
Would that be the Marvel treatment?
Yeah, give it everything the Marvel treatment. Yeah. Saving Private Ryan. Giving Saving Private Ryan the Marvel treatment.
Can you imagine the D-Day scene? He's like, some vacation, right, guys?
Bullet hits his helmet, takes off. That just happened.
Yeah.
Dude, a Marvel-ified Saving Private Ryan would be amazing.
Yeah, Vin Diesel walks out and gets shot. Oh, you okay? It's like, oh, yeah, I'll be fine. Oh, that really hurts. Oh. Yeah, that's gonna leave a mark.
Sir, Private Ryan's lost all of his brothers in the war. We need to save him. Damn. F.
Yeah, I know.
F.
Yeah.
I saw a movie recently that I actually enjoyed way more than I anticipated to, and I'm very excited to look at it on React when it comes out on streaming.
So we're just
I
looking
like
at
the other
chat.
one, the gulp. Oh no, he's right behind me, isn't he? like any context that works anywhere. Saving Private Ryan. Like the Nazi that comes back. Ah, it's him again. You come to betray us. Don't worry, we won't betray us. Anyways.
Yeah, so the movie I saw was Alien Romulus. You guys haven't seen it, right?
No.
Not yet.
I highly recommend it. It was pretty good. Now, the criticism I've seen is that it's a little too similar to previous Alien films in that, like, it's a similar structure as basically the first Alien film. But it's been a long time since I've seen the Alien films. I'm not like a huge fan of them per se. It's like they're fine. I thought Romulus was amazing. I thought it was really good. There is a character that is in the movie that is a deep fake, an actual like movie level deep fake.
Oh, I've heard about that. It's the android guy.
Well, yeah, I was just trying not to like say who, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I don't think that actor is like alive.
well, don't keep talking.
My segment.
Whoa, shoot. Well, that just happened.
Yeah, now the comments are gonna be spoiling it. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about it because it was like kind of a questionable effect, and I've done a lot of research about all the effects in the movie, and there's, as usual, very little information from the visual effects houses about it because they're like it's not, they're NDA'd obviously, but like what do you call it when you can't post something until a certain day? Embargoed. Yeah, they're basically embargoed until a certain amount of time so that the marketing team behind the movie can actually push the marketing how they want it, which of course we did everything practical. Which fortunately this movie, they're not really pushing that angle that hard like other movies have been really egregiously done, you know, because every single shot in the movie has like some level of visual effects to it almost. And all the practical shots, like they did all the little like face huggers practically. And you know, of course they ended up replacing most of them with CG, but that's not a bad thing. Anyway, my point is that I thought the effects in the movie were incredibly good. The space, the way they handled like lighting in outer space was so realistic that I had never really seen that in space. Because usually there's always a little bit of bounce light in movies. Like a spaceship goes by and it's like nicely evenly lit with this REM light, even though the sun's the other direction and all this stuff. But like, no, like Alien Romulus treated it like this is how light actually works in outer space.
That's cool.
It's pretty sick. And yeah, I thought it was really good. It was a fun time.
There's still like so much untapped genre in just doing something realistic. Like Escape from Tarkov. You know, like that video game came out in a world where there's been a billion first-person shooters, and it's just another shooter with guns. And yet, because they just fully committed to like that hyper-detailed realism, like it worked. Same with PUBG. Same with Alien Romulus.
No, Alien, I think they did a really, really good job of like mixing the practical with the visual effects by having enough practical as like a baseline. When they do replace it with like CG, it looks a lot like the practicals. They have the perfect lighting reference, they have the perfect material reference, and all of this stuff. And
Cool.
and they don't have to invent it all from scratch. They can just like invent parts of it to add on to it. So you end up with like a good chunk of it that's still like real and practical. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was very surprised because I wanted to go see I want to go see a scary movie. Let's go see Alien. I think it was like the last week it was in theaters too.
Was it scary?
It was scary.
Good. There you go.
Especially because they finally treated the face huggers like spiders. So I was definitely like creeped out by it. There's a scene where they have to basically walk through this room that is completely filled with face huggers.
Do they skitter?
They skitter, but they also do this thing where like their front legs go up like this.
Oh.
So it's like they have their legs and they're like, which is very spider-like, and that instantly made the hair on my neck raise. I was like, oh god. It was good. It was good.
All right. Well, we're approaching the end of the podcast here. We'll have a little hangout with the people on the website right after we wrap this podcast, a little after show. But to all you listening, tuning into the podcast, thank you for joining us. This was a great trip down memory lane, but also into present experience lane. We were straddling the lanes, both of them.
Short-term and long-term memory lane. Yes.
Yep, we did some carpool memory lanes where we all shared memory.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
We'll be back
everybody.
next
Thanks
week.
for listening. Consider subscribing if you're on a platform that offers that. And consider coming on over to corridordigital. My pitch, I screwed up my pitch. Consider on coming over to corridordigital.com and joining us on the live shows. It's pretty rad. It also helps support us make cool videos.
Yeah.
And consider buying a Corridor Crew Simpsons shirt if you haven't already, because they're only available for a few more days.
Only till the 7th.
All right.
The 7th, yeah. All right.
Bye.
And a 3, 2, 1.